It is Halloween, and for many, getting out and enjoying the fireworks is one of the great joys of the occasion. For others, the noise, not so appealing, and in particular for animals, it can be a terrifying night. Des Groom is from Groom Vets in Kildare. Morning, Des.
Hiya, Will. Good to be here again.
What would be the aftermath you and no doubt other vets would see following Halloween?
So the aftermath is, in rare cases, but unfortunately it happens a couple of times every year, we see stray dogs. Dogs break out of yards through panic and fright because of noise and fireworks in the area. They break out of areas, they become confused, they start to run, and then they get lost and become stray dogs. So every vet surgery and every dog animal charity would be aware of this, would be picking up a few strays this week, unfortunately. Dogs that are lost and confused and have been running around and are brought in. Sometimes it can be, homed back to their correct owners if they're microchipped, but all too often they're not microchipped and they end up going to the dog warden, and some of them never find their way home, unfortunately. So keeping the dog in tonight is really important, in the house preferably, and in a crate, in a bed, in the utility room, with their toys that they're used to and so on. Just keep them in. It's far safer than leaving them in the yard. That'll be the first thing. And then the second obvious thing then is the stress and distress caused by the noise and the disruption and the commotion and even the trick-or-treating.
I suppose I hadn't even considered trick-or-treating, but having strangers come to the door again and again and again is very much out of the routine for an animal.
Yeah, that's a big distress for little house dogs that are territorial by nature, most of them, about their own front door and their own front windows. And it can cause a disruption for a lot of families to have the dog barking and panicking every 10 minutes for maybe several hours this evening, So in those situations, listeners hearing me talk about this, they'll recognise if they have a dog like this. Usually it'd be a little dog. And recognise the scenario. So advice to an owner with that in that situation who's experiencing that this week, call to your local vets today, and there are sedative or calming options available which can be dispensed and will be effective to help to control the distress and the anxiety that some of these dogs will be experiencing tonight.
We've only mentioned dogs. What about cats?
Cats prefer to be outside, and they hide. They tend to hide. And they'll have a safe space in a shed, probably a shelter area, and they keep to themselves and they stay out of trouble. They don't necessarily like being confined indoors where they don't understand the noise and the commotion that's going on outside. They prefer to be out and look after themselves and hide. They won't panic and bolt. The dog would. Their self-preservation instincts are a little bit more refined. They're a little bit cleverer. They're more independent. They're more resourceful. And as I say, they will tend to hide and keep themselves safe.
Provided, of course, somebody with malicious intent doesn't grab one, and that can happen, unfortunately, from time to time at Halloween.
Yeah. We've heard of those cases. Yeah, for sure.
Another unintended consequence, though, can be around food. So you've got lots of trick-or-treating going on, plenty of chocolate, and we all know dogs and chocolate do not mix.
Yeah, it's a bit like Christmas, Will. You have the same hazards indoors when you have young children in the family in particular. Chocolate is harmful. The darker chocolate's more harmful again. Chocolate is poisonous depending on the volume, on the amount of it they eat. So the more of it they eat, the worse effects it'll have. Chewing gum and lots of other products, not just chewing gum actually. Xylitol is the compound I'm thinking of in particular. Xylitol is a common ingredient of many confectionaries, and it's also highly poisonous. So keeping the dogs away from the trick-or-treat baskets is really important. Give them nice, big, solid toys that they can't break and can't chew, and put them into their crates, put them into their beds. Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, was pumpkin harmful? Pumpkin is not. They're not very likely to eat much of it, but it doesn't do any harm.
They cause an enormous mess if they do, though.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Yeah. For the distressed dogs, the ones with separation anxiety and really, really bad noise stress that are very resistant to change, we do have some groundbreaking, game-changing drugs available. So I would say call into your vet today. I'm thinking in particular of a new drug called trazodone that's available to us. It's a very effective, mild sedative. Some people will know what an SSRI is. An SSRI is an anxiety drug, an anti-anxiety drug, commonly used in people. There are two similar ones, as I say, game-changing drugs, trazodone and Reconcile, two new veterinary drugs which are highly effective for these type of problems, these type of situations.
Interesting. Thank you for the advice, Des. Hope it's a relatively quiet night in all things considered. Thank you. Des Groom of Groom Vets in Kildare.